Today we're going to be talking about behind the scenes of a social media campaign in real time. It's called SnapForSight, and it's a campaign for Vision 2020 Australia that they're running, and it's part of World Sight Day. So for those who don't know, today is World Sight Day, and we're having a campaign for part of this, and it is to highlight eye health and the need to get your eyes checked. And the approach we're taking is we're getting people to take a picture using their phone or however of what they cherish, and then putting that up online and sharing that online with the hashtag SnapForSight. And all of the photos that have been taken through Instagram and Twitter with that hashtag are aggregated on our website, snapforsight.com.au. Go and check it out. And you can see it in the background. I'll just turn that around a bit. You can see that there. And all of those, we're using a platform called Shuttle Rock. And this is something that a number of brands are now starting to use. And Lady Gaga was an earlier adopter of it. And so all the photos aggregate and they cascade down, and people can look at them and share them. So if you want to know what Australia cherishes, go on to snapforsight.com.au. Now, Dion, it was an early start, 7:30. Why don't you take us through what we've been doing, because we've been part of the team, and the idea was to get momentum up on social channels. How have we gone?
Good. Well, obviously there's a lot of background work before you kick off one of these campaigns. But one of the main things we were looking to do was to trend early. Our aim was to trend in both Melbourne and Australia. And so what we did was, some traditional influencer marketing, I guess it's called, where we really just reached out to people in our networks to get the ball rolling this morning. And really people have got behind it very quickly. And I think one of the reasons is it's such a beautiful visual campaign. But by 7:30 this morning, SnapForSight was trending #1 in Melbourne. By 8 o'clock, it was trending #1 in Australia, and we had a little bit of a look at our reach and impressions about an hour ago, and we were at around 800,000 reach and around about 4.5 million in terms of impressions. So just looking at the metrics has been great. We've had some competition. Apparently,
the competition is...
Apparently there's a bit of a nudie of Justin Bieber going around. We can't understand why that should impact our reach. But we accept that might happen. So, so very, very good kickoff to the day, and still been in the trending chart all day.
So Jennifer Gersbeck, who's the CEO of Vision 2020 Australia. Welcome, Jennifer. How have you found today? It's something a little bit different for your organisation, because you're largely an advocacy. Why don't you take us a bit through what Vision 2020 does, and why are you undertaking this campaign on World Sight Day today?
Thanks, Trevor. Yes, well, it is a little bit different for us. As you say, we're an advocacy group. We're actually the peak body for the eye health sector here in Australia, and we have about 50 member organisations that we represent. And World Sight Day is one of those annual days, as you mentioned, and it's our day to raise awareness about eye health and the importance of looking after your vision. But we really wanted to do something different this year. I mean, we obviously engage with parliamentarians every other year, and we work with our members to try and get the message out. But, awareness days are a dime a dozen these days, and I think people become a bit numb to some of those messages that are just pushed out traditionally. So we thought a social media campaign was the way to go. I mean, it's current, it's the way of the future, it's present. About that. What we're trying to say to people is, as you mentioned, what is it that you cherish most, and what would you miss if you didn't have your vision? Because people just don't realise that, how precious their sight is, and how relatively easy it is to, maintain good vision. And this is a great way to remind us that, this is something that we should be looking after. We've lost Dion.
No, we've lost Jennifer. I can see Dion.
Yes, I think
we've got some audio. Dion, right. What are the challenges with something like this, though? I mean, we're kicking off today. It continues on for the month, but obviously momentum is the hard part. And of course, you reach out. You've got that, I guess, that first ring of people who you know, and you can, we've gone to people we know. The people within Vision 2020 have gone to people that they know on social media, plus politicians and their members, and they've all been fantastic and contributed. And through the course of the morning, we've noticed that the tweets and the Instagrams have ripple affected out, and people are participating who none of us know, which is a fantastic sign, because that's showing that you're getting that ripple effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's exactly what you learn about the platforms, is that whilst you originally reach out to your own networks, it is then that you are in the networks of people who themselves have networks and who themselves have networks. So I think that ripple effect is what you want to see. I think the other thing for Vision 2020 is because they have key members and parliamentarians, there's also an opportunity to reach out through those groups to the people who have a direct interest in them as well. So I think that's, it's great to see Jen back there. So I think that's what you would expect to see. That is what we are seeing.
And I think the thing too is that it's about engagement too. I mean, you used some numbers before, and they're nice to have, and we can only measure what we can measure. But it's really a case of the engagement and with the right people as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about today's message, which is a visual message, but it is essentially a very kind of engaging way to say to people, get your eyes tested. In Australia, 75% of blindness is preventable, higher if you look at the global stats. But it's more based around, well, tell us what you cherish, so that people understand the campaign as it relates to them personally.
Yeah. Jennifer, what are the key health messages? Because a lot of people think, if I go to an optometrist once a year, once every couple of years, that I'm fine. But Dion and I have been working with you on this, and the team on this project, and we're learning a lot more along the way, and there's some statistics and messages there that I wasn't aware of, and I'm sure the broader public probably aren't necessarily 100% aware of either.
Yeah, look, Trevor, it all comes down to risk factors. I mean, there are a few risk factors that people should be aware of. If you're over 40, you should be getting your eyes tested regularly. If you have diabetes, if you're a smoker, if there's a family history of eye disease in your family, you should be getting your eyes tested. Glaucoma is one of the conditions that can cause blindness in this country, and there's a strong correlation with family history. And it's amazing how people just don't ask their mum, dad, grandparent, auntie, uncle, do you have any eye disease, or is there a history in our family? And it's one of those diseases that you actually can lose a lot of your vision without even realising it. And once it's gone, it can't be restored. And yet if it's detected early through an eye exam, as Dion mentioned, you actually can save that sight or preserve that sight and live with that condition and manage it. It's treatable, perfectly treatable throughout your life. So, it's simple to get your eyes tested, but the problem with, eye disease is that you often don't know you've got it. And the only way of detecting it is to go and have that eye exam.
And
Jenna, I want to ask you a question, if I can just hop in, Trev.
Yes.
It's really interesting, and we talk a lot about this in social media about, and certainly something I'm very interested in is the leadership gap. So, billions of people on social media globally, 2 billion, and, clearly using it for all sorts of reasons. And yet, when you look at the leadership level, there's we're still struggling to get that uptake at that very senior executive level, like CEOs like yourself. So because you are sort of one of the sort of pioneers in that sense as a CEO, doing social campaigns, running your own Twitter account, that sort of thing, what has influenced you to go down that path? What's the lesson there for other CEOs or executives who might be looking to make the move but might be wary or unsure about stepping into social?
Yeah, well, it's funny that you always refer to me as being some sort of leader in this area, and I feel such a novice compared to where I'd like to be. But I think partly because of my communication background, too, all the years of working in the communications area, while social wasn't around in those days, I think the importance of following, where the public are going is really, really important. And so social, to me, I recognised very early on that this is the place where everyone was going. Having a couple of teenage kids probably helped as well at the time, but I realised that it's beneficial to the work that we're doing. I mean, in advocacy, we're trying to communicate messages all the time. And again, like I said earlier, with the world sort of days and awareness days, people get sick and tired of being barked at and told messages. Whereas this social environment is where you engage with people, and that's what it's all about. And I think getting people to not be told stuff, but to come in and ask questions and learn what they want to learn about. And so social to me was something that our organisation really did need to jump on board, and that's exactly what we've done. And it's been amazing to see the staff all get involved, particularly in this campaign. I think it brings everyone together, and they can see the real benefit of getting involved in this social phenomenon, which isn't going anywhere. And yet, you rightly say it's amazing how many CEOs and my colleagues that I speak to who aren't involved or are just getting onto Twitter, and they all say, but I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do it. And so I find myself saying to them, look, it's easy, I can do it, anyone can do it. And I think things just get bigger and bigger, and it's the place where we all need to be.
It's interesting too when you're, Jennifer, talking about engagement of your staff, and Dion and I've spent a fair bit of time here in the office and working and talking with the staff about what we're doing, which has been fantastic, because that's where it starts, is that sort of your employees are your front line, and a lot of them are on social and they're out there and they're sharing, and some of your employees have got thousands of people on Instagram, which is fantastic. But it also can't. We walked in today at 7:30, and the boardroom at Vision 2020 was decked out in pink, because our colours are all in pink. And I didn't get the memo about pink, but we've had pink meringues and we've got pink lemonade, and we've had lots of pink and red fruit. So it's just been, and you can see probably there's a pink you probably can't see it, on the backs of all the chairs are all pink. So, there's just been fantastic vibe internally as well. And that's where it starts. And then it ripples out from that, which is, you have to earn that enthusiasm, don't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not dissimilar to the whole notion of being social, is it really? And I think I could have sat all the staff down and stood up front and said, okay, we're going to do this campaign and we are all going to do this, this and this. Mm-hmm. But rather than do it that way, it's more about bringing everyone in that sort of social atmosphere, making it more of a party atmosphere. This is a fun, exciting campaign. And, let's face it, every day at work is often hard work, and not every day is a fun, exciting day. So we wanted to really build up and get the enthusiasm. And the fact is that a lot of people that aren't involved too heavily in social media are really seeing the power of what can be achieved by simply learning and being involved. So I think there's so many spin-offs and so many, wonderful lessons that can be learned. And I'm pretty sure that, the guys that work with me now, if they move on to other environments in the future, which undoubtedly they will at some point, they've learned something really valuable about organisational culture and building that around social as well, which is very rewarding for me. So it's a good thing too.
Yeah.
And I think, it's really interesting because you still hear or read a lot about that concern coming from employers that, should we allow our employees to be on social, or, what's our social media policy first in terms of how restrictive can we make it, or if people are using social, they're going to be less productive. And it's just really not borne out by the data at all. So McKinsey, for example, put out a report a few years ago which said essentially you could get productivity gains of 20 to 25% by using social internally. And I see quite a few people who've joined in the Blab, including Carolyn Hyams there from Firebrand, where, Firebrand and Aquint use social really well internally to create, brand ambassadors for their own organisation and really have people at the front line sort of walking the talk. So that's a mindset thing, isn't it? To stop thinking about productivity in terms of, the 1 second somebody took to retweet something, and thinking about, the fact that your employees really are, the front line of your brand.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think it's important that, staff know the sort of guidelines, I guess, and know what to do and what not to do, but encouraging all the time to be looking on social media for our key stakeholders and what they're doing. And we're in the business of communication. We're in the business of influencing decision makers, and to do that we need to be aware what they're doing. And of course politicians are all on social. We need to be really on top of and working with them around what their interests are if we're going to influence them and influence policy moving forward. So yeah, I think culturally here I encourage people to be on social. We have gone through a lot of the dry material around this is our policy. We've developed a policy. We're still working on crisis management strategies and so forth. I think that's all part and parcel, and again it's the whole staff that are engaged in all of these discussions, so that they see that this is an important part of the organisation and what we're doing and our strategy moving forward. So we need to be open about it.
And I think that's the key too. We think of social media being, and this is a public-facing campaign, albeit as an umbrella organisation, you don't do as much of that. A lot of your work is advocacy and working on behalf of your members. But today is all this month, and this campaign for Sight will be, engaging your members and them getting out and doing things as well. But also, again, working with politicians and them actually engaging and putting up photos and tweeting about it. And some have done videos. Yeah. That's engagement. You're top of mind. Your messages are there, and it's done in a fun way, and it's a win-win for all parties.
Absolutely. I think the secret to success of this campaign in particular, and I noticed this as I went around promoting it to various, politicians and even some of our member organisations, is that it's so simple to do. And I think that, in the past we've tried to get people engaged and given them a long list of things that they need to do in order to be engaged, whereas this is, do as little or as much, but do something. And it's so simple. And I think that that's the beauty of it. And people like the idea. And, and people get involved in things that they like. And even better if it's got a good message behind it as well, which this has. So, yeah.
Well, we're really surprised that, not surprised, but, Instagram is 400 million people around the world now. So I believe it's bigger than Twitter. It's moved into third place after obviously Facebook and YouTube. And it's becoming its own social network. A lot of people have jumped off Facebook and they're just using Instagram as their social media network. And this is made for this campaign. Obviously, what do you cherish? Take a photo of something that you cherish and then hashtag it and share it with your friends. It's certainly made for that. And these campaigns take a little bit of time and workshopping within. Is it easy enough to do? Are we asking people to do too much? Is the messaging, we can do it in a tweet, and that's where the challenges and the beauty of social media is, can we do it in such, communicate the message in such a crisp and concise way? And while you can say a lot more on Facebook, of course, and a little bit more room to move, when it comes to Twitter and Instagram, it's less and less is more. And so we're measuring Twitter today, and that's going really, really well. We're measuring Instagram, which is going exceptionally well in addition to Twitter. And as we know, Facebook's a little bit harder when it's we know there's a lot of sharing going on. We know that there's some fantastic photos being uploaded, but because people have their privacy on. So we kind of don't know that side of it, but we can I guess, hazard a guess that it's going pretty well.
Yeah. I think the other thing in terms of the tweet is people have so little time. And one of the things I think with public health messages is people think, well, where do I fit that into my day? Whereas this, again, is just about you must get your eyes tested because it is really helpful long term. Bang. It's that sort of that interruption media. How do you get somebody's attention for, 1 second or 2 seconds? And I know the thing that we all talked about before the campaign was launched was, different approaches, and recognising that with so much going on for people all day, every day, sometimes a second is all you can ask for. But it doesn't mean you can't do something with that second if you can get it.
Yeah. I remember when we first started talking about the campaign in the office here, I said this year for World Sight Day, we want breadth, not depth. And I think that this really is what drove this idea and the way we headed. Before, I think in previous years we've gone into such complex detail about all the various messages that people need. And at the end of the day, it comes down to just get your eyes tested.
Yeah.
Don't forget, add it to make it a priority, get your eye health, under control. And so with that simple message, you can go for that sort of breadth, and social media has just offered that perfect opportunity to spread it far and wide. So, I feel this is a really successful way to go.
And I think the depth is there for those who want it. So, the SnapForSight website has a lot of key facts on it.
Back to front.
And then, and then you click on it. You can go to all of the details and the myths and the facts and all that sort of deeper messaging. And the other great thing is with all the partners and the members involved, likewise, it's following their links back to the member sites to be able to find out more about their particular focus. So I think, yes, it is absolutely about breadth. But if you've got more than a second or it's of interest, say, for example, there's glaucoma history in our family, then, you do actually go and have a look and read a little bit more because it's personally resonant. So that's, again, what I love about it is that if you want to dip deeper, you can do that.
Well, conscious of time, we're in lunchtime, so here in Melbourne town, so we've got to get back to the tweet stream and the Instagram stream and Facebook, etc. So thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Dion. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And we hope to report back further on once we get a bit deeper into the campaign.
Yeah, so I can just say, get Snap happy and SnapForSight on World Sight Day. Thanks, Trevor.
Okay, thank you.